What's up everyone, John from Beyond ARTV. It's time for another installment of News It or Lose It. This is my series where I weigh in with my opinion on a trending news story in the world of music. And today we are talking about Spotify. Spotify are in the news, no, not because they're just the best streaming service out there. No, not because Cardi B, Post Malone, Kendrick Lamar, Drake, or somebody of the likes of superstardom set some new streaming record. We're talking about Spotify because they actually started to crack down on hate content and what's being deemed as hate content. Now, exactly what is that going to be? Well, it started off as them kind of banning from promotion these controversial artists that have had criminal mischief in the past, or else assault charges or allegations of misconduct, or just a lot of things that have added up over a period of time. And the first two people that they've cracked down on are, of course, R. Kelly, a singer that probably unfortunately needs no introduction. He has a very dark past, 2 decades worth of charges and assault accusations, and even being involved in a sex cult. Lots of other women speaking up and kind of voicing their thoughts as a part of the Me Too and Time's Up movement. Something that I definitely see as important for R. Kelly to just be put down, because 2 decades worth of shit. I don't think that all of this would come out if at least some of it wasn't true. It's like the whole Bill Cosby thing, and somehow he's still maintaining that he's innocent. I don't think so, man. Anyways, R. Kelly, obviously a very dark past. He was the first one that they announced. The Mute R. Kelly campaign was successful, and I've just been befuddled for years as to how the man kept getting record deals and lots of success if all of these things were coming out against him. But finally, people are starting to stand up to the accusations. Obviously, R. Kelly being the first, and then XXXTentacion being the second artist to essentially get muted. Now, getting muted on Spotify isn't exactly going to mean that their music is just pulled from the service entirely. In fact, it just means that they're no longer going to get promotion in these playlists that can often be vital to an artist's career. Spotify is a company that is privately owned, and they can choose who they want to promote, so that's not where I see an issue. But today, I want to talk about the fact that I do agree with what they're doing here and the fact that they're cracking down on hate content, but I want to have a little discussion as to what exactly they're going to see hate content as in the future, and what exactly does somebody have to do in order to get muted on Spotify. R. Kelly and XXXTentacion were the first artists to get banned, and many people are calling for 6ix9ine, the very controversial rapper, to be next on the chopping block, and I couldn't agree more. I can't wait for that dude to be a thing of the past. Not only is he just horrible to look at, I mean, I'm so sorry that I even have to show you this image, but the dude is actually convicted of doing some despicable things. In fact, he pled guilty to doing sex acts with a minor because he was seen in an Instagram video just air humping or dry humping a 13-year-old, while this other dude actually did sexual things. So maybe he wasn't receiving something, but still, it was a minor, and he just seems very unapologetic about his behavior and the way that he is in general. So not only is his music awful, so is he. Sorry, I got a little bit sidetracked. I just really hate 6ix9ine. Anyways, what I was getting at is, how is Spotify gonna define hate content in the future? Is it gonna be as simple and as straightforward as perhaps an artist like Eminem saying faggot in their back catalog, and them saying we no longer want to feature this in a TBT or Rap Caviar playlist anymore? Or is it gonna be more nuanced in their approach and how they look at things? Are they gonna say, hey, this personal life, that's actually something that we're gonna weigh in more with. We wanna see what they're doing, what they're in trouble for, how serious are the charges? I don't exactly know how they're gonna determine things. What's the trigger here? Is it more of an incriminating past, or is it simply about what the artist is saying in a song? Now, Spotify says they're going to weigh out each case on in case-by-case basis, essentially, and they're going to treat it fairly, and they're gonna look at the full context, but do we really know that they're gonna be able to do that? Because there's so many cases, and I feel like at this point, after you set a precedent of banning R. Kelly and XXXTentacion from promotion, how many people on Twitter are going to be up in arms about this, constantly saying, well, this guy did this, or this guy did that, why don't you ban them? And honestly, in response to this, XXXTentacion's manager, I really can't disagree with what he said. He simply replied to the email that he had gotten saying, okay, I have no comment there, but what about this long list of artists here? Everyone from Anthony Kiedis of the Red Hot Chili Peppers, who have assault allegations in the past, to the late David Bowie and Michael Jackson, who both had a few things under their belt as well. Are we going to go back to the past to censor these people and stop promoting their music? Or where do we draw the line? And honestly, that's a valid question from the manager. Where do we draw the line? Because all in all, I actually really support this movement. I love the idea of getting behind and just saying, look, we no longer are going to stand by this artist. We're not promoting them anymore. We don't have to, so we're going to actively distance ourselves from them. It makes sense with them having gone public as a company. It's a good move overall. I'm just worried it's going to get to the point where people just start tweeting them and just saying, hey, this person did something or said something that could be considered transphobic or homophobic or whatever it is, and then Spotify basically has their hand twisted and forced into saying, I guess we've got to mute whatever this artist is. I totally support the idea of not removing an artist, but simply just not promoting them. It totally makes sense, and it's a good way to show that they actually truly want change. But what could go wrong here? Maybe a band member gets charged with a DUI, maybe there's a sexual assault allegation that's not confirmed as a fact. Do we have to shut them down there? Do we base somebody on their past and do we judge them based on that and stop promoting them? Or do we accept the fact that this happened a while ago or we don't even know the details? It's very tricky, and I'm not saying that I have the answers, neither will Spotify or any of the fans. But at this point, the people yelling online often win out and get their way. To me, this looks like Spotify making a good publicity move after going public with their stock. It comes at a time of change in our country where a lot of people are standing up for women's rights and speaking out about sexual assault or whatever the case might be, domestic violence, lots of other things like police brutality. We're starting to actually speak up about these issues. But at the same time, there's also a lot of rampant rumors and things that simply are not true. A lot of misinformation, if you will, that's out in the world floating around. But in this time of change, the policy does make sense for what it is. And they started with only 2 artists that had very, very serious allegations against them. In fact, XXX's were pretty damn serious. If you're not aware, he's charged with witness tampering, holding somebody hostage, domestic abuse, battery, a lot of different charges. And this dude is very young. And while he has worked to kind of try to change that image in a way and do some more good, this is still something that he has to pay the price for if it actually happened. And with Spotify cracking down on him, it just kind of sets the precedent. So if R. Kelly and XXXTentacion, if they're blacklisted, no pun intended, then who is next? That's kind of scary because of the unknown. Like, who's the judge here that's deciding if this crime is serious enough? I mean, what does the crime have to be? What are the merits? Do we judge based on other good things that they've done? Does the good outweigh the bad or the bad outweigh the good? And who is determining what's hateful and what's not, and when it's used in a certain context, and how it's just put out into the world? How is one person going to interpret these things? Now, they do say that they're working with a lot of rights advocacy groups, and that's a good thing. They listed like 6 on their little statement that they put out that they're going to be working with to help them determine these things. But I also feel like there's going to be mounting pressure from the public at this point. What we could see over the next few months is something rolling out, perhaps like the YouTube adpocalypse. We saw ads removed because advertisers got freaked out when a journalist that was bloodthirsty, out for blood, just wrote up an article and said, you know, PewDiePie did this and you're advertising on his videos and you're giving him a YouTube Red show. What are you gonna do about that? How do you like that? And then the advertiser and his network obviously are forced to just basically crack down on him and hand down some sort of punishment. Are we going to see a similar thing with Spotify in the future? Perhaps some journalist just digs up a Post Malone song or a Rob Zombie track, whatever the case might be, they pull it up and they post a blaring article saying, advertisers on Spotify, did you know that your ads are running before and after these horrible lyrics that are misogynistic or whatever the case might be? And some people's terms and definitions of what these things actually are and the offensiveness of them, it's a little bit questionable because some people just want to be offended. But you put it out there and some website picks it up, and then like 10 others, because they just want to have some story because they're desperate for clicks, they put that out into the world, and then you've got a situation where the advertiser is like, fuck, all these people, listening to Spotify free, that's a lot of people, they still have ads, and our ads are running up against that? I can't have that. And honestly, it would make more sense for Spotify to have an adpocalypse than YouTube, because a lot of these songs are a lot more offensive than what YouTubers are putting out. I really hope I didn't just give somebody an idea, because I truly don't want it to come to that. I mean, I hope Spotify sticks to their guns and they stand by and carefully review each and everything, and they look at the full context of the situation. I know that people will still seek out the bands and artists that they want to if they're on the platform made available, just not promoted. That's not going to affect those fans. As long as they can still get the music, I'm okay with it. But at the same time, I do agree with what is happening right now. Crack down on the people that are obviously just not good, people that you probably wouldn't want to do business with anyways. Let them remain on the platform, but don't actively put them in the spotlight. That's my take on the Spotify situation, guys. What do you think? Sound off in the comment section down below. Do you think that this is going to hurt young artists in the game who actually get up to 50% of their streams from being in playlists? Or do you think it's good that people, just could potentially be held liable for what they're doing? I think that they should, but I think that we're going to have to draw a line somewhere if this starts to get out of hand. But I have some faith in Spotify. They've done great things in the past, and I hope that they will do more good things and make good decisions. Anyways, that was my take. Drop a like on the video if you did enjoy it. Subscribe to the channel if you are new here, and if you would like to, help support the videos by donating on Patreon at the top link. The direct link to my Patreon is in this annotation over in the corner of your screen here. If you want to see another recent video, it is right over here, another recent news update. If you want to see another recent episode of my Series 7 on Sunday, tap here. All of my social media accounts that you see here are linked in the description, and I'll see you soon for more on Beyond ARTV.